Today, the Home Secretary said that Britain has lost control of its borders. She said that we need greater cooperation with international partners. Well, I'm going to show you some recent cases that prove the problem is even worse than you ever imagined. This is the moment an illegal Sudanese migrant tried to snatch a 17-year-old girl and drag her across the street. We'll be playing some CCTV of that shortly. But luckily, brave passers-by intervened, but Abdul Mawal Ibrahim Adam then tried to engage with a second woman until she got away from him before trying to follow a third. So he was on a spree, this guy. He was later arrested and then eventually charged with attempted kidnap. However, he refused to engage with police and the court's process before finally pleading guilty at Swindon Crown Court. Like I said, we'll get you the CCTV of that very, very shortly. But before that, let me give you some other cases from recent days. An Iraqi asylum seeker was pictured wielding a machete and was found guilty of smuggling hundreds of illegal immigrants into Britain. He is Mohammed Ali Nariman, claimed asylum in November 2021, and just 3 months later, he was found on a yacht off the coast of Sussex. And it turned out that he was part of a people smuggling network, helping people to get to Britain on dinghies and in the back of lorries. So basically, that guy was banged to rights. Why? Well, police found images of migrant passports and messages from Nariman directing them to his home address, as well as a video of him holding £50,000 worth of cash, apparently. Well, he cannot be sent to prison because he has PTSD and anxiety, right? In fact, his lawyers managed to convince the judge that he shouldn't even face a full criminal trial. Instead, he's going to get a supervision order or just a bit of time in hospital. So his PTSD meant that he couldn't face a full criminal trial, but of course it didn't stop him committing those crimes. I believe we might now have that CCTV footage for you of the incident that took place in Swindon, which involved a Sudanese migrant. So I'm hoping that we might be able to play that for you in just a second. There you go. So there's a Sudanese migrant who stalked a girl. She was trying to get the bus home. She was walking home from work, actually, near a bus stop, and he grabs her, just grabs her. Imagine how terrifying that is for that poor girl. Anyway, then passers-by see, they come and eventually try to get him off her. He then goes after another woman, and then another woman, and there we go. Is there any indication, by the way, that he's going to be deported off the back of this? I'm not sure there is. Now let's look at another headline for you, OK? This is pretty devastating. I married an Afghan migrant. He raped me and then used me to claim asylum. His wife, Amelia, that's not her real name, wrote multiple letters to the Home Office saying that he was going to kill her and her child and that he had returned to Afghanistan on holiday twice using an Afghan passport to cross the border from Iran, then using his British passport to get back into our country, having travelled back to Iran. So our Home Office would never have known that he'd been to Afghanistan. He actually married a new wife whilst he was over in Afghanistan as well. The Home Office did nothing. He is now a free man living in Iran, but his wife warns that he'll just come back to Britain one day. Yesterday, a Romanian rapist of no fixed abode was found guilty of raping a 27-year-old doctor in Scotland. He also flashed a woman on the train. Then, when he was in court, they decided it would be a good idea to handcuff him to a female prison officer. And he started masturbating. He masturbated in the courtroom whilst chained to a female prison officer. Yet again, there appears to be absolutely no question whatsoever of us deporting him. So, Mrs. Home Secretary, we don't need greater international cooperation. We need you to start deporting these people yourself.
We're living in a time of what feels like pretty significant social change, and it makes us question things that we've even taken for granted for decades. And one of those at the moment that people are wondering about is actually money. Is the money in your bank account safe? Should you be investing elsewhere? Are we looking at a potential global crash? What will it mean for your savings? Is there a way that you could be using your money that might be outside of government control even? Well, TallyMoney is potentially one solution. So I'm delighted to say that I'm joined today by the CEO and founder of TallyMoney, Cameron Parry. What is TallyMoney?
Well, at TallyMoney, you basically get gold you can spend. So we give people an individual account in their name, everyday account. They get a sort code, an account number. They use that account just like they would pounds from their bank, but it's milligrams of gold that we brand as Tally.
Okay. Why would you do that, though? What is the benefit to the customer instead of just having a normal pound sterling account?
Gold's performance against the pound is above 11% per annum over the last 25 years on average. But we still need money in our daily lives, and we have savings. We know that it's good common sense and prudent to save up for things, not just living credit. You know, whether it's a holiday or a rainy day, your retirement planning, you need to have money in your life, basically, that you can rely on, that's dependable, that nobody meddles with, that nobody can weaponise against you, which is another element of government control when it's the government currency, which we could talk about another time. And it should be pretty simple and straightforward, and that's what we deliver at Tally. And really, we just want people to feel safe and happy with their money. There was a time when the bigger your bank balance, the more confident you felt. Now it's like, I need to do something with it. I can't leave it there. In Tally, you can.
Okay, brilliant. Cameron Parry from TallyMoney, thank you so much.
Thank you, Bev.
Let's get the thoughts of my panel. Director of Public Services, Mark Littlewood, Reform UK Councillor Russell Quirk, and, of course, journalist and broadcaster Nina Mishkov. Right, OK. I mean, I think that CCTV, which I don't know if you might be able to bring up again, is absolutely harrowing stuff. Sudanese migrant going after a schoolgirl, first of all, and then two other women just on the streets of...
Yeah. Obviously, ghastly pictures, isn't it? I mean, you know, a horrible, violent crime and attacks do happen, you know, each and every day in the United Kingdom. The question is, what are we going to do about it? And you know, Patrick, you were mentioning, you know, how tough are we going to be? Well, I mean, it's extraordinary. The Home Office statement says, a Home Office spokesman said, when foreign nationals commit serious crimes in our country, I think this would be counted, attempted kidnap, we will always do everything in our power to deport them. That's the Home Office. Well, they've got a lot of power. They don't seem to have done anything in their power to deport them. We are being taken for mugs. I like the fact that we are a tolerant, kind country that gives everybody a first chance, or a good number of people. I do not like the fact that we give everybody a second, third, fourth and fifth chance. It's absolutely unbelievable. This guy came in here illegally 2 years ago. Why is he still in the country? He entered illegally also, 2 years ago.
Also, as well, the other thing is, and I'm not trying to tar everyone from Sudan with the same brush, but as people will know, you know, in those Calais camps at the moment and in the warehouses, the overwhelming majority of people that I saw there were from Sudan, right? So, you know, you've got a guy there who looks like an incredibly big guy who's just come out of the shadows, a 17-year-old schoolgirl who may well never be the same as a result. But then you've also got some of those other cases that I mentioned there, you know, 15-year-old girl raped, 27-year-old woman in Scotland raped by people who have no right to be here, really.
So, look, I think this whole deportation thing is an absolute red herring. And I'll tell you for why. It's because no one ever seems to talk much about the fact that these people shouldn't be here in the first place. What we need to do is prevent them coming, which you do in two ways, in my opinion. One is to make sure that when they turn up here, by lorry, by boat or whatever, that we immediately put them into internment camps and send them back within hours. That would be the first thing. A, because that's the right thing to do, and secondly, because it would be a deterrent. But also not to grant quite so many people asylum. I think the rate so far is about 60% versus France's 5%. We also continue to advertise on the Home Office's website all the wonderful trinkets and gifts that you get as an asylum seeker when you come here. So, of course, if you think that you're going to get away with things and not be deported, and you think that there's a nice soft Premier in bed with a 42-inch plasma screen waiting for you also, of course, you not only are going to get off the hook in terms of your criminality, but you've also got an incentive. The reality is, and some people will shout at the screen as I say this, but it's true, there are certain people in this country from certain overseas countries that simply have a higher propensity to commit crime. That is a matter of fact. And I would argue that some of those people are coming from countries where, let's just say, their culture does not respect women. Places that think it's OK to stone women to death on the basis of being suspicious about their alleged adultery and so on. Countries that won't let women drive, they're probably not going to be in accordance with Western values when they come here, are they?
I mean, Nina, the thing again is that those are all cases that have been reported on anyway, just from like this week, from the last few days. And I could probably do one of those monologues every single week. It is devastating, all of this stuff, isn't it?
I am not going to support a man like that. As a woman, I know that's the most terrifying thing, standing on your own in a street by a bus stop and a guy grabs you. I am not going to support that. And this particular Sudanese guy has been completely obstructive. He won't talk to his lawyers. He refuses to come to court. They've had 8 different hearings because he needs to be got rid of. And people like that, they have no place in our society. But when we talk about these cases, we are overloading the system against people who are not white British, because really, as a woman, what we need to look at is the propensity of men to attack women. In this country, the police get a call about domestic abuse every 30 seconds.
But Nina, sorry, we're talking about the importation of people that are doing this.
Hang on. These are not people who've been imported.
Well,
I'm just
saying that adds
some of them are.
No,
I'm not saying men aren't a problem per se.
No, let's just see what the basic problem that we women face in this country. I've said this before. At the Southport riots, 40% of the men who were arrested had been charged with domestic abuse. So, all right, protecting our women...
Yeah, but Nina,
that's not this debate.
No,
that's not this debate.
Obviously, well, it's not the same thing, is it?
No, because you're not a woman.
You might well be right that we need more rigorous policies and better enforcement policies to tackle domestic violence. You may well be right on that. But this is not a domestic violence issue. These issues are around people that we have allowed to come in. Exactly. I'm not suggesting...
We've added to the problem by importing people.
Women are being attacked.
Yeah.
Only 3% of rape charges ever come to court.
Yes.
And of those, there's less than 30% of rape...
Nobody's suggesting this is the only problem in Britain we need to tackle. There are clearly other problems.
I understand that, but by concentrating on this, you are completely ignoring that, which it needs to be. And women are suffering one way or the other.
We're not ignoring it.
Women are suffering one way or the other.
Just to drag us back to one of the issues at hand, which is that today the Home Secretary obviously admitted what we all know is that we've lost control of our borders. She said exactly the same as every single Home Secretary we've had in the...
But what an admission, they've been in power for 15 months.
Quite. But
and the Tories were in power for 14 years. It was Boris who lost control.
The solution to that is for more international cooperation. But it just seems to me like all of the cases that I've rattled off there, it doesn't seem like there's any rush to deport any of those people, Russell. That surely is in her power.
Sorry, it's a bit like the misnomer over smashing the gangs that we heard, I think that particular rhetoric started from Keir Starmer about 2 years ago in the run-up to the general election. How does more international cooperation, or indeed more money to the French, stop people with a propensity to commit sexual crime from other countries coming here and committing the crime? No, but hang on, deporting... Nina, hang on. Nina, deporting them is after they've sexually assaulted women in this country.
And where do you deport them to?
Back to their own countries. The ones they go back on holiday to frequently.
I completely agree with that. But there are many who are not. Like the Romanian, for instance. You can't,
Why can't they go back to Romania?
Well, if you have a returns agreement, you need a returns agreement.
No, because returns agreements...
It's a Romanian citizen.
You don't want a returns agreement because that necessitates we have to take a disproportionate amount back from the EU.
No, that's only the agreement we have with the French, and that's beginning to work.
Stop them.
You can send people back to their country of origin.
How can you just stop them? What do you want? Gunboats?
No, I want internment camps.
On the beaches?
Internment camps.
Yeah. So this is the whole thing.
You're
right. The problem is that the Labour government keeps going on about it's all about international cooperation. Now, there may be some international cooperation that would be useful. I can see that. I'm not against cooperating with allied countries. But I want to know what unilateral action they think they can take. You know, stuff that they don't need to run past President Macron or Giorgia Meloni. What unilateral action within our own power can we take? And as I say, that statement from the Home Office will do everything in our power.
There's got to be a question of credibility. So for far too long in this country, we have just believed a lot of these people. You take the case of the Iraqi man there who came over, was granted asylum just 3 months after we granted him asylum. It turned out that he'd been one of the kingpins of a human trafficking ring that was using things like yachts, anything they could get their hands on, basically, and he was armed to the teeth to bring illegal people over here to Britain. He then, we were told, couldn't face a criminal trial or go to prison because of PTSD.
I've never heard of such lunacy.
That is ridiculous.
Because I mean, now I'm afraid, having read that headline and seen this show, every criminal in Britain is going to say, well, whether it's shoplifting, armed robbery, or rape, I can't stand trial because I have PTSD. What an absolute load of nonsense!
Yeah.
The thing is, the trouble is, for years
it's a
and
liberal
years
judiciary
and
that's allowed
years,
this to happen.
the Home Office has not been fit for purpose. And it's a creaking organisation. It's not at all efficient. And until Shabana Mahmood can
But
kick
this
that
is the
into
justice
action,
system, not so much the borders system. I mean, the other extraordinary thing with this Sudanese chap looked like we were trying to throw legal aid in his direction that he was then not accepting, and this was prolonging the process. So, you know, 8 occasions he turns up.
But do we have any faith? Mark, do we have any faith whatsoever in a Home Secretary, successive Home Secretaries, I agree, that instead of tackling the problem head-on, whatever that is, in a more robust way, simply starts obfuscating with regard to an equivalent of smashing the gangs? By the way, let's ring some European leaders to try and stop...
Define head-on.
Internment camps. Take away all the incentives.
And also digital ID.
No, what difference would that make? They're all working anyway.
We can identify these people. It's just we're letting them get away with this stuff.
Digital IDs make no difference in Germany or France whatsoever.
All right, let's whiz ourselves on. So regarding the claims, this statement from the Home Office, regarding the claims about an Afghan migrant that we said there, about the one whose wife said that he'd been raping her and been nipping off back to Afghanistan. While we do not comment on individual cases, we take any abuse of the immigration system extremely seriously. Where there is evidence of wrongdoing, we will take firm action to challenge it, protect the integrity of our borders. So there we go.
They've lost control of.
There we go, yeah.